On tonight's Gwinnett Prep Rally, the 2012 football season is underway as some of Gwinnett's finest kick things off under the lights of the Georgia Dome. The defending state champs got off to a sluggish start against McEachern, but a second-half surge carried the Grayson Rams to victory, while North Gwinnett and Colquitt County went down to the final seconds, with the Bulldogs breaking the hearts of Packer Nation. The night session wasn't as good for the local teams as Camden County steamrolled Peachtree Ridge, and the Brookwood Broncos couldn't contain the Walton running game in a high-scoring affair. Plus, the Norcross Blue Devils look to be real contenders for a Region 7 crown and will sit down with their all-state running back. There's no split decision as Gwinnett Prep Rally is the unanimous choice of high school football fans in the county, and we're rocking and rolling into the 20th season of GPR, and it starts right now.
For 20 years, there's only been one home for high school sports, Gwinnett Prep Rally.
Football is back, and so is Gwinnett Prep Rally as we begin our 20th season covering high school athletics in Gwinnett County. And you can catch the show right here on GCPS-TV for all the football, basketball, soccer, and baseball action from Class 6A all the way down to Single A. I'm Todd Klein alongside Will Hammock from the Gwinnett Daily Post. And Will, the marquee event to kick off the football season took place this past Saturday at the Georgia Dome, and it was a great day of football.
It was a fun day, a lot of fans out there. It was a good fun way to start the season, and really for Gwinnett, started out so-so, a couple wins, a couple losses, but I think last year it was kind of disappointing in the Corky Kill, but it's more about how you finish the season, and that's what these teams are talking about.
Well, let's get to the highlights, and we start off with the defending state champion Grayson Rams looking to start the season the way they ended last year with a victory at the Georgia Dome, this time taking on the McEachern Indians. GPR's Nathan Shutter has more.
Grayson got their title defense underway in the Georgia Dome, taking on McEachern. Both squads would get on the board early. Wayne Gallman takes the pitch and scoots into the end zone from 16 yards out, put the Rams up 7-0. McEachern would respond in a big way to Mayan Clemens, fakes the handoff and takes off downfield. He has one man to beat to the goal line, and he dives in for the touchdown. Two-point conversion was no good. Grayson up 7-6. Rams threatening late in the first quarter. David Fennell goes up the middle for a big gain before getting tackled around the 10-yard line. Robert Kimdichi will finish off the drive from 2 yards out to give the defending state champs a 14-6 advantage. Second quarter, McEachern not going away without a fight. Clemens drops back to pass and fires a bullet to Chris Akay for 6. Two-point attempt was no good. Grayson up 14-12 at the break. Second half, Rams knocking on the door. Quarterback David McTeer with a sneak attempt. The Indian defense doing all they can, but McTeer gets into the end zone to put Grayson up 21-12. McEachern with the ball in Rams territory, but the pass attempt is going to be picked off by Ryan Carter, and he is heading the other way. Down the sidelines, trying to get to the end zone, but he will get tripped up short of the goal line. The McEachern defense was able to hold, so the Rams have to settle for a field goal attempt, and Alex Luthen is good from 26 yards out to increase the Grayson lead to 24-12. They would put the game away with under 2 minutes to play. Jordan Germany around the end. He goes untouched all the way for 6, and Grayson wins their season opener 31-12 over McEachern.
Well, Will, a little bit of a slow start there for Grayson, but once they got things going, looked a lot like last year.
Yeah, it's a lot more impressive than their last few times in the Corky Kill. A couple of low-scoring games to start the last couple of seasons. Really kind of played sloppy offensively the last couple of years, but really got it done offensively. And the key thing in this game, they really made the plays down the stretch. They could have made it close there in the end with McEachern, but instead they turned it on and made a game out of it and won it there at the end.
Well, usually you start off in the Georgia Dome, and that's kind of the highlight of the early part of the season. Not so for Grayson. Next up for them is a Miami Central team, one of the top-rated teams in the country. Talk about this great marquee matchup in the second week for Grayson.
Yeah, I think Grayson's going to have to play a lot better. I mean, you're facing a team from Miami with a lot of talent. Both these teams are #1 in separate national polls, so it's going to be a very hyped game. Certainly a lot of people are going to be watching it on TV, and I think the crowd's going to be pretty good out there just to see what this Miami Central team has. But Grayson, it's all about their athletes. I mean, they have a lot of good athletes too, and they're going to match up with some of the best from Miami Central.
Well, back to the highlights, and the North Gwinnett Bulldogs saw their season come to an end last year at the hands of Colquitt County, so you know they would like to return the favor for this year in Game 1. Nathan Shutter has all the action from the Georgia Dome.
North Gwinnett with a good early test, taking on South Georgia power Colquitt County. The Bulldog defense would step up early on. Cole Seagraves looking to pass, but his attempt is picked off by Jalen Brooks to halt the Packer drive. Colquitt would get on the board first later in the quarter as Roberto Vega connects on a 43-yard field goal attempt to give the Packers a 3-0 lead. The offense had trouble early on, so the North defense stepped up. Dante Sawyer hits the ball carrier in the backfield. The ball pops loose. Andrew Westbrook will scoop it up and rumble 32 yards for the touchdown. North Gwinnett up 7-3. Second quarter, and the Colquitt defense comes up with a big play. Hayden Spire back to pass, but he is taken down by O'Shea Williams for the safety. Bulldogs go to the half with a 7-5 lead. Time winding down in the third quarter, Colquitt County will take the lead thanks to a 30-yard Vega field goal. North Gwinnett now trailing 8-7. Bulldogs with one final play in the quarter, and it's a big one. The handoff goes to Donnie Miles. He breaks through the line and finds nothing but open space. 77 yards on the touchdown run. North Gwinnett up 13-6, heading to the final frame. Fourth quarter, and the Packers will find the end zone. Deontay McCain takes it in from 5 yards out. The two-point attempt was no good, so Colquitt County leads 14-13. Under a minute to play, and North needs to score. Michael Haynes can't find an open receiver, so he's going to tuck the ball and run for a huge chunk of yardage all the way down to the 13-yard line. Following a sack, the Bulldogs will rush the field goal unit onto the field for the first time all game, and Michael D'Angola will calmly knock it through the uprights from 34 yards out as time expires, and North Gwinnett takes down Colquitt County in dramatic fashion by a final of 16-14.
Well, what a way to open a season there, Will. You see the last-second heroics. North Gwinnett wins this game, and what a nice way to start and get that taste of last year out of their mouth.
It's a great game for North. A lot of positives. I think the offense is going to come around. I think that Michael Haynes at quarterback showed you a lot with his legs. He gives them a runner, maybe more along the lines of Mikey Timber there at quarterback. And really the defense is where it all was about in this game, really shutting down a potent Colquitt County offense. So got to really be proud of that defense at North Gwinnett, and coming out there in the clutch, Michael D'Angola with a huge field goal.
Well, very similar to Grayson, is North has this great game in the Kickoff Classic, and then they go right to another big-time showdown against a team from out of state. This time, North will be hosting in their own challenge, be hosting AC Flora. Big test for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, it should be a good day of football over at North. It's a three-game showcase, but really the nightcap and the marquee game there is North playing AC Flora. I think it's going to be another great test for North. North has never shied away from playing tough competition in the non-region schedule, and that's the case again this year. It's always impresses me how North fares against these teams. I think they'll do very well and win this one too.
Well, more Pigskin action now from the 2012 Kell Kickoff Classic, featuring a pair of former state championships teams as Peachtree Ridge took on Camden County. GPR's Jeff Batten has the call.
Peachtree Ridge looking to make a statement against perennial power Camden County. Lions down 7-0 in the first. The give is to Joe Horn on the end around, picks up a first down before getting forced out of bounds around the 30-yard line. Penalties are going to back Peachtree Ridge up, but they would get that back. Bryson Sellers back to pass, finds Kendall Cobb wide open down the seam. Cobb takes the ball into Camden territory. The drive's going to stall, though. Peachtree Ridge has to settle for a long field goal, but the 40-yarder will sail wide right, and the Wildcats take over from there. Bryce Ramsey now with the inside handoff to Jacob Johnson, and he bursts up the middle, 19 yards, touchdown. Camden County now up 2 scores, 14-0. Second quarter, Wildcats on the move. Ramsey, play-action fake, going to go up top to a wide-open J.J. Green. He bobbles it, but grabs it, hauls it in for 6. 21-0 now, Wildcats. Peachtree Ridge trying to get on the board before halftime. Sellers with a nice fake keeps the ball for a big gain down to the 10-yard line, but the drive is going to stall with a missed field goal, and the Lions trail 21-0 at halftime. Second half, Ridge trying to get the offense going, but the throw is high, picked off by Calvarez Becent. He's going the other way. Nobody will catch him. Touchdown, Camden County. Now they're up 28-0 and in control. Later in the quarter, Wildcats now up 35-0. Bryce Ramsey with a play-action fake, and he airs it out to a wide-open Marcus Jordan. 61-yard touchdown there. Wow. Camden County shuts out Peachtree Ridge. Your final, 42-0.
Well, it's supposed to be a dream to go down there and play at the Georgia Dome. This one turned into more of a nightmare.
Yeah, what a rough start for Peachtree Ridge. I mean, I know that going into the season opener, you're excited, you want to play well, but not only a tough draw to play Camden. Obviously, Camden's going to be a very good team, but I don't think Peachtree Ridge showed what they're capable of doing either. I think they played bad in all facets of the game, and when you do that against a good team, it's going to turn into a 42-0 loss, which they haven't lost that bad since the school first opened.
Well, it's a pretty tough question to ask, Will, when the route is this bad. But as Peachtree Ridge tries to get back on track from this, what was maybe one part of their game that really needs to improve if they want to be a contender in Region 7?
Yeah, I think certainly the defense has a lot to do with it. I mean, you got to play better defense than that. You got to tackle better. You have to have better plays scheme-wise. I mean, you really can't give up that many points, give up that many big plays as they did. And I think focusing on the other side of the ball, you can't really turn the ball over like that against a good team and expect to just stay in the game, much less have a chance to win.
Well, the final game of the day featured a great matchup between the 2010 state champion Brookwood Broncos and last year's runner-up Walton Raiders. Jeff Batten has more.
Jamaal Cole hoping to lead Brookwood to a V over Walton in the season opener. Broncos on the move. Zach Moon pitches it to Cole, and he'll get outside for a nice gain before getting forced out of bounds. The drive's going to stall, so Brookwood has to settle for a 26-yard field goal attempt, and Brandon Morrow splits the uprights. Broncos up 3-0. Walton's going to respond on their next drive to give us to Tyron Jones. Spins past a defender, breaks a couple of tackles, and he is off to the races. 71 yards, touchdown Walton, and it's just the beginning of a great night for Jones. 7-3 Walton. Second quarter now, Brookwood down 14-3. Jamaal Cole on the pitch goes untouched. 19 yards on the run, and the Broncos cut into that lead, so it's only 14-10 at halftime. Now we move to the second half, and here's Tyron Jones again. He's going to strike for the third time in the game, this one from 48 yards away. He makes it look easy. Walton now 21-10. And after Jones' fourth touchdown of the game later on, Brookwood needing to answer, and Cole will get it done as he fights his way in from a couple of yards out to cut the Raider lead to 11, but the Brookwood D could not contain Jones. Here's number 5 for the game. This time from 52 yards out, he ended up with 308 yards on 26 carries. Time winding down, Zach Moon back to pass, hooks up with Kyron Priester along the sideline. Priester does the rest, but it's too little too late as the Broncos fall to Walton 35-24 at the Georgia Dome.
Well, Will, you had to stay up pretty late to watch the end of this game, but what you saw was a magnificent performance by the Alabama-bound running back from Walton. Talk about how much of this was Jones being such a great back and how much of this was Brookwood being a very new and inexperienced defense.
I think it's a lot to do with both, probably 50-50. I mean, Jones is certainly an excellent player. Alabama fans got to be excited. He showed a lot. I mean, some of those touchdown runs were amazing. The spin and then the cut and the balance he showed. But really it comes down to a young Brookwood defense. I mean, if they had played better scheme-wise, if that defensive line had played better, it would have held him in check. I mean, certainly you don't want to give up 300 yards rushing to anybody. I mean, if you give up 150 to 200, he's obviously a very good back, but I mean, that was pretty ridiculous to give up that much.
Well, Will, usually on these early season games, you don't want to make too much out of them because there's a chance to improve. But really, it seems like over the years, no team does that better than Brookwood. Their first game, usually at the Cal Kickoff Classic, is not indicative of how they're going to be at the end of the season. Do you see that again here? Do you expect this Brookwood defense to grow up quite a bit this season? Yeah,
I think so. I think over time they'll start playing better. I think both sides of the ball, the line play is going to be very important. Obviously, a lot of new faces on both sides of the lines. I think there's also some potential on offense. I mean, I really like some things I saw on the offensive side of the ball. You have some veteran skill players, and I think Kai Priester really gives a boost to that offense as well.
Well, the Norcross Blue Devils will kick off their season this Friday night against South Gwinnett as they look to get off to a good start with hopes of a region and state title on their minds. And one of the key players of this team's success is senior running back Alvin Kamara.
Tonight's team leader is presented by Breda Pest Management.
The state of Georgia is no stranger to producing big-time running backs, and colleges from all over the nation hope that trend continues with Norcross standout Alvin Kamara.
They see a kid that can run in between the tackles. They see a kid that can get out in space, and they see a kid that's got an extra gear when he gets in the secondary. And he's also got power. Very rarely you go see one guy be able to tackle him.
The recruiting process is always evolving as the top schools look to gain an advantage with blue-chip prospects, and Kamara found this out early on when defending national champs Alabama sent him over 100 letters in just one day.
After I got the letters, I called Coach Smart, and he was like, "Yeah, I mean, we're gonna show you some love." So I mean, that's when I really realized I was like, "Wow, I'm in this for real."
Kamara's name can be seen at the top of every major recruiting service, and with an offer list that reads like the who's who of college football, the spotlight shines bright on number 6.
It's really tough on these kids on how to handle it, and I think he's got a grip on it. We got to bring him down every once in a while, but overall, I think Alvin has done a tremendous job handling all the attention.
Although Kamara has not made a decision on his college destination, he knows what he is looking for, and a handful of schools meet that criteria.
Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, Oklahoma State, Florida State, and I threw Oregon in there too because I'm still kind of interested in Oregon. You know, just mainly, I just want to be comfortable, really. I mean, the coaching staff I get along with, I mean, players that I get along with, I mean, not just coming in my class, but the guys that are already there.
No matter where Alvin Kamara attends school next fall, he will hit the ground running and ready to make an impact.
I mean, I feel like I have most of the tools that I need, but I mean, it's just going to be a matter of sharpening my skills and just being able to compete with the best of the best. So.
Well, it's kind of exciting to see where he will choose to go to college. Still some big names around in that. But the thing is, this guy is so talented, you know he's going to be a big part of whatever Norcross does this year.
Yeah, he is a big part of that offense. I mean, he's very dangerous. He's a guy that I don't know how many long touchdowns and runs he's had the last couple seasons, but he has that burst where he can get through the line really fast. Great speed. I really thought as a sophomore he's a guy that probably should have been playing more. He has that unbelievable speed that you really just can't match on the football field, and it creates a lot of big plays, and I think that's going to be key to Norcross to be able to produce some points this year.
Time now for Will's World. We put 60 seconds on the clock. We get in the mind of our very own Will Hammock, and it's brought to you by Nexstar Communications.
Yeah, the early season, preseason workouts were pretty rough. The Mill Creek lost a couple of key players. One of them was Carter Governale. He hurt his knee against Peachtree Ridge late last season, and was trying to come back and retore the same knee and just make it a cut in a practice. And it's a really big loss. I think he's a guy not only who's going to be a big part of that offense, but he's going to be a big part of that defense as a safety, and that really hurts him on both sides of the ball. Talk a little bit about Central and Collins Hill playing in the opener. These teams hadn't played in quite some time. It's exciting to see them, the kind of neighborhood rivals, very close together, see them playing again. It's going to be a very important game for both teams. I think Collins Hill, they started 1-3 the last couple of years, so they want to change that. And Central Gwinnett wants to move into the upper echelon in the region, so winning that first game of the season is going to be very important to kind of set the tone for Central Gwinnett's season as well as for Collins Hill. I think the same can be said for South and Norcross. They really want to get off to a good start. For South, they were injury plagued last year and really want to show that they're a better team than what they showed last year. I think they were just beat up in all facets. And for Norcross, I mean, high hopes for Norcross this season, but you don't want to go in and lose to South Gwinnett in your first game, and it really kind of puts a damper on the season right off the bat. So I think both these teams want a good showing in the season opener.
Yeah, Will, talking about that season opener between South Gwinnett and Norcross, obviously kind of different for both teams where the expectations are more on the Norcross side. What do you expect out of South Gwinnett? They kind of come in with maybe as the underdogs, maybe a little less to lose in this game.
Yeah, I think South Gwinnett's in a good place. I think they're going to have a great football season. They're healthy. They got all their players back that they were missing last season. And there's a lot of talent over there. Coach Small does it the right way. He knows it. He runs a great offense for those players, first of all. And then defensively, I think they'll be much improved with Reggie Carter. So I think it's going to put the pressure on Norcross. I think that game's going to be closer than people might think.
And speaking of pressure, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on the defenses when Central Gwinnett plays Collins Hill. Like you said, it's nice to see that rivalry getting back together. What do you kind of think the over-under on this game is? I think you plan to cover it and probably be there for a while watching these offenses.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous about how many points might be scored in this one. I think Central's better on defense. I think Collins Hill is always going to be good on defense, but really those offenses on both sides are very impressive. They're going to make some big plays and probably score some points. And the key for me in that game, both quarterbacks are very good. E-Man Westmoreland and Brett Sheehan are kids that have played and know the position, certainly going to be college quarterbacks. So I think they can really open that game up and put up some points.
Time now to focus on standout performances. So let's move on to this week's Building Blocks, presented by Britt's Home Furnishing. And first up is Jordan Germany from Grayson.
Yeah, he's a guy that's a very good player for them. I think you saw him involved offensively more than we've seen him in the past, but he's been a great defensive player for the state championship game. I'm always impressed. Last season, you might remember him. He had the most beat-up helmet. You could barely tell that it was a Rams helmet by the end of the year last year, but just a guy that plays really hard, physical. Not the biggest guy in the world, but he's very tough, and he showed it in this game. 78 yards rushing and a touchdown.
Well, we know North Gwinnett. We know Bob Spire's known for offense. We know they've had a great defense, and now you throw in the special teams, and North could be a very formidable team.
Yeah, that's really been an underrated part of North. I mean, you didn't hear a lot about it in the past, but they've always been solid on special teams, making plays all over the field, and really that when it came down to it, a kid that Michael D'Angola that hadn't been on the field all game long, steps out there and makes a clutch kick, and just like that, you won the ball game.
And you wonder how Brookwood will fare this year after that tough start by the defense, but the offense looks to be in very good hands. Jamaal Cole getting it done with 167 yards in the opener.
Yeah, he's been a star the last couple seasons, but he could really split time both seasons with Nick Tompkins, who's a very good running back, not Michigan State, but he's a guy that's, I think, going to have a big season, 167 even in a loss in the opener. I think you're going to see him putting up huge numbers as the feature back this year.
Will, those were all great efforts. Who else played well last week that we should mention?
Maybe the player of the week in the Grayson game was Ryan Carter, defensive back. He really made some key plays down the stretch that turned that game. His interception was huge, and he's a guy that's exciting, another Division I prospect over there for the Rams.
Well, we're going to move on to some predictions now, Will. It's brought to you by Tommy Lee Carpets. We're going to go through some of the top games of this coming week, and we start off with Berkmar playing Duluth.
I think Berkmar's still in rebuilding mode. I really like what Duluth, the improvements they made on both sides of the ball, so I'm going to go with the Wildcats.
And then we have a nice rivalry game, Mill Creek and D'Angola.
Yeah, it should be interesting. D'Angola lost a lot. I think Mill Creek's probably going in as a slight favorite, and I think the Hawks are going to pull one out.
It's the game you're going to be covering. Central Gwinnett at Collins Hill. Should be a lot of points. Who winds up on top?
Yeah, it could be a high-scoring affair. It's going to be very close. I think Collins Hill maybe has a little bit of an edge right now. I'm going to go with the Eagles.
And Norcross, South Gwinnett, we talked about this game. Who gets their season off to the proper start?
I think Norcross has a lot of talent. If they stay focused, they should win this ball game, so I'm going to pick the Blue Devils.
And finally, the big showdown, the big two #1 teams in the country, Grayson versus Miami Central. Who gets your vote in this one?
I think Grayson puts it together and shows them what Georgia football and Gwinnett County football is like, and the Rams win.
All right, that's going to do it for this week's GPR. Be sure to join us next week for more highlights and features with a full slate of Friday Night Football. You can see Gwinnett Prep Rally every Tuesday through Friday right here on GCPS-TV, and you can go to GwinnettPrepRally.com for all the scheduling details. For Will Hammock and all of us here at GPR, I'm Todd Klein. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you under the lights.
Grab some wood there, bub.